Welcome back to Preparing for the Unexpected. We are broadcasting live today from Orlando at DRJ Spring 2024 Conference at Renaissance Orlando at SeaWorld.
You're cheating, Alex, by writing it down.
I had to.
It doesn't count. This hour of the broadcast is brought to you by Speak and Spark, the Speaker Bureau Marketplace, connecting event organizers with speakers in resilience, cybersecurity, and human resources. Their mission is to connect audiences to experts, which sparks a conversation. As we alluded to the first hour, Alex, sparking a fire in the exhibit hall to warm things up. Apparently, out in the conference itself, the rooms are rather cold and chilly. One of the rooms, someone was carrying around a pocket thermometer because, of course, they were resilience professionals. And in one of the rooms today is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is Celsius, but I do know that is ridiculously cold for a room.
Sounds cold.
Let me do the math in real time. That is 12 degrees Celsius, which is a chilly
That's chilly.
room. So hopefully those people in those rooms are more prepared than I am in this room.
Well, I feel fine. I've got my hoodie on, so I'm fine.
Yes, you do. So, Alex, yesterday you were telling us about McDonald's.
Yes.
And their outage. And so I think we should give an update on that. You and I each looked this up independently, and we didn't talk ahead of time of what the other person found. So
That's right.
It might be fun. You tell me what you found. I'll tell you what I found.
Well,
let's talk some Mickey D's.
Here's what I found: that McDonald's is not confirming how widespread their technology outage was, though it's known that Japan, Australia, UK, and even some US sites were affected. In one article, they said, this was in quotes, that the cause was a third-party, quote, configuration change, end quote. And it comes after, this all happened after a report, an internal report came out that said that they had concerns and challenges with their internal technology and where they were going with some of this. And there was a quote, and I think this quote is appropriate for here, that says the quote's in the report, the artificial intelligence tools we are incorporating into certain aspects of our restaurant operations may not generate the intended efficiencies and may impact our business results. And I thought, that's rather interesting.
What could possibly go wrong? I found very similar information that for many of the affected stores, they had to revert to taking cash only and not using their app. Some stores elected to close. And yes, I did find it very interesting. I think it's like a classic crisis management playbook by blaming a third party. Let's throw an unnamed third party under the bus for the classic configuration change. We will keep an eye on this because how many times have we seen ransomware and it's initially reported as we had an upgrade last night. Our vendor had an upgrade last night. There's some random bump in the night that's not our fault. Come buy your cheeseburgers.
It's almost like a default response.
So one of the things I was thinking else. As an old man, my old man rant of the day, brought to you by Speak and Spark. No, so here's my one old man rant of the day. People don't use cash anymore. Most people.
Right. Yeah.
So would a younger person, and not because they're younger, would they even know how to make change or make an order and add up and say, okay, it's yours is $20.05 or $10.05, so I give you $20.05. Like, is that a skill? I'm asking out ignorance now. Do people even know how to do that anymore?
I can honestly say people don't, because when I was younger and still lived up in Thunder Bay with family, we had a country store. So learning how to calculate change was actually something you had to be taught.
Correct.
So that you didn't give the wrong amounts back. You calculated there was a way to do it, and trying to explain it is almost
Impossible.
yeah,
Yes.
it's really difficult. But there is a way of counting it so that you get back, and that's why they say, and they may hold
And
you
your
a dollar,
change.
and that's 20, so that they're actually telling you what your change is, but they're equaling it to the amount you gave them. And there is a way of doing that. And I don't think even people can't do that today, but they are probably so used to just getting one number that
I'll take the
by the
number
way,
one.
that $20 that James just mentioned, you forgot to add the tax on that.
Correct. And so imagine trying to teach people that during a lunch rush. And so I think that's why some franchisees just elected to shut down. The longest outage I was able to find that somebody was willing to admit to was a franchisee in Texas, who they were down for 12 hours. So
Yeah.
they lost a half day's revenue because of it.
And let's face it, we know how busy McDonald's can get. So that was a significant chunk, an impact for them,
Absolutely.
especially
So,
if it's a franchisee.
yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and see if the unnamed vendor and unnamed third party gets named at some point, and if it changes from a configuration update to a software upgrade to what's the next step in
Internal human error.
Human error, and then we know what the fourth one typically is. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
The other reason I was thinking that nobody knows how to count change anymore, whenever, so as an old man, I carry around cash like all good old men do. And
why did you look at me at that?
Well, I can't see you out of the side of I got to change my view of the microphone. It's weird here. Whenever I give my son money to buy anything, I always, when he comes back, I ask him, I say, do you have any change? And he says, no. So at first I just thought he was pocketing it, and now I still think he's pocketing it, but maybe he doesn't know how to actually calculate change.
Well, I do carry a little bit of money. Actually, when I'm in Canada, I don't. I had the same $20 bill in my wallet for 3.5 years because I just use debit. But when I come to the US, debit cards can sometimes work and they don't. Depends on where you go. It's 50-50. So I always carry some American money with me. But when I go home, that'll come out of the wallet and I just go right back to cards.
I also carry more cash in the US because we are very much a tip society. And when you have your debit or credit cards and you want to tip someone at the hotel, for example, you can't. They don't have tap to pay reader on their card. So I do tend to carry more cash when I travel in the US.
I find that cash used to be king, and now everybody uses cards. Cash has now become almost a contingency.
Yes.
If the cards aren't working. But in the case here of McDonald's, where they can't even, some people can't calculate a bill or calculate tax and figure out or change, et cetera, that even the contingency doesn't work, could not work in some places.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, I'm just going somewhere else to eat.
Yeah, well, I would too.
So,
right across
we're in the
the
middle
street.
of nowhere.
Usually,
We're on a road trip, and that's the only thing around. I don't like standing in lines ever for anything. To stand in line for a half an hour to get a 2-hour-old Big Mac, I'm happy to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm in and out, in any restaurant or shopping. Shopping with me, I don't go shopping. I already know what I want. I'm going in, get it, out. I don't wander around looking for deals or stuff like that. It's just can't be bothered. That's just not me.
All right, so we've learned Alex doesn't carry cash and he doesn't shop. So we're building a profile.
Scary, isn't it?
It is scary. The hackers are listening to our broadcast, methodically putting this together.
They're probably thinking that guy's nuts.
One of the first times I traveled to South Korea, I was told that and I don't know why I was told this, and I don't even remember who told me this, but I was told, like, hey, you need currency in South Korea because they only, like everyone here, they take cash, not cards. So I went to my bank ahead of time, got a bunch of South Korean currency, and then when I got there and landed, every single place I was at was card only the entire time. And so I brought all that cash back and changed it. So I got to exchange my US dollars twice, which was great. And the funny thing is, the person who told me that lived there. So it's not like some rando on Facebook who was pontificating about something they didn't know. It was someone who lived in Seoul. I trusted their judgment, and maybe that was my first mistake. But I just remember carrying around this cash the whole time going,
Well,
what should I do with this cash?
I've been to Seoul, and I didn't have. Well, I had some South Korean money, but I didn't spend any of it. It was all card.
Exactly, yes. So. Well, I didn't know you back in 2015, or I would have asked you.
I think I was there 2016, 2017. So there we go. So what other wonderful things are in the news today? I haven't seen any notices about disasters yet today.
I don't have any short topics. Do you have any short topics?
Before our next guest.
Topics. Yeah.
Let's see. You're right. I don't have anything short. Everything
Lesson
is
for
long.
us. We talk too much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got a two-part topic, so maybe we can do the first part now.
Okay.
I want to talk about Haiti. And so the first part of my topic is I want to talk about the 2010 earthquake because I feel that really sets up what's happening today. So most of us remember the devastating earthquake in Haiti in 2010, and I looked up some numbers to make sure this was accurate. So 200,000 people died, and 1.5 million people were left homeless in the immediate aftermath of that earthquake. And for perspective, the total population at the time was around 10.5 million. 10.5 million. So a huge percentage of people were left homeless. So my question to you is, you could solve the world's problems in 3 minutes. Should the global community have done more to help Haiti recover, given the size of the devastation from a natural disaster in relation to their population?
I think the haves, the nations that are the haves, have a moral obligation to help those that are the have-nots when there are natural disasters. I think we should, because there was a time when those have countries were the have-nots as well, and they needed help from outside. Canada needed help from Britain, U.S. Got help from other partners as well, and that's how these countries grew and became what they are today. How can others grow if we don't help them as well? We have a moral obligation to help. I believe.
I agree. And so the second part of that, in a minute or two, even if people, and there were a lot of nonprofits and NGOs that were on the ground, when you look from a disaster relief effort, how do you even start when you have 1.5 million people suddenly homeless overnight? Like, part of me wonders, even if everybody was there on the ground with money and troops, just the size and scale of 1.5 million people being dislodged from their homes, could any recovery have been effective?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say because it was such complete devastation. I remember seeing some of the pictures. Even the presidential palace or parliament building, I forget what it was, had crumbled. So any quote unquote seat of power was gone. And there were so many different groups all vying, trying to help. There wasn't a coordinated effort. And I think countries that want to help and that do help, which is great, I think they need to talk to each other a little bit better so they can help some of these people. And sometimes you go into a situation where it's so devastating, the destruction and the suffering you're seeing. It's difficult to determine, where do I start? Start where you are. Whatever the first. I remember attending an emergency management session years ago, and someone said, if you are in a situation like that, just start dealing with what's the closest thing you can see and do. Just get started, and the people will start telling you what it is they need right away. And I never forgot that. I thought, it's okay, start where I am. That's the best place to do it. And if that changes, if you're building tents and they turn around, no, we need food, great, then to pivot. Let's focus on food. We'll put the tent second so that we can feed you first, and then we'll house you, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that's the way to do it. I'm just saying, as a starter. So.
Absolutely, and that's why I know cash contributions are controversial in some sectors, but the benefit of cash donations during an emergency, it allows the people on the ground to determine, to your point, what is needed right now. I'm trying to get our guests' attention. You want to throw something at her? No throwing stuff. But yeah, okay. So I think we're in agreement. The response could have been better coordinated, and maybe some more effort from first world countries. And we will talk about part 2 of that later on today.